like to call this meeting of the Boothbay Selectmen to order. First thing on the agenda, as always, is the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first thing we have is public hearings, which there are none. So that brings us to our first public comment. Do we have any public comment tonight?
I'm good.
All righty, we'll move on. Looking to approve the minutes from May 25th, 2016, and June 8th, 2016.
So moved.
June 8th, I can't participate in, I wasn't here.
Yes, I can't either, I can just do the 25th, but.
I'm just trying to see if
Let's
we,
do them in the,
I
I'll
think
make
we're
the
gonna have
motion
to
to
do
approve
them
May
individually.
25th.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion, we approve May 25th, 2016.
Second.
that was down at the Y.
Yes, I believe so.
Were you
Oh,
there?
No, I've got them backwards.
Okay, so that was Steve and Doug.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who's voting? Who actually is voting on those ones?
I think Steve
Doug, and Dale.
and I weren't there. I think it was just you.
Right, that's
Yeah.
me, Douglas, and Dale.
Yep.
The three of us.
So you need to second it.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor? The three of us?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the June 8th meeting.
Second it.
So we have a motion, I have to abstain, all those in favor? All right.
Get the cursed minutes out of the way.
That was
I'm telling
painful.
you. I know, it was. It was way more difficult than it should have been. Reports, Dan.
Yep, first of all, I would like to report that this past week, we had Bonnie Lewis retire from the town, 30-plus years of service to the town of Boothbay. I think most people would agree that she was one of the first and nicest people to greet you at the door. Knew your name, knew your husband, wife, daughter,
Dog.
most of your pets' names, and that's a level of service. It's going to be hard for someone to follow up. So I'd really like to congratulate her right here on Channel 7. Public Works, they're busy fixing shoulders. They've been working, if you get a chance to go down on Back River Road, they've been working on the Park Cemetery area. The cemetery district had approached them to help fix the wall and kind of just make the area a little nicer, and they've done a really good job, and in fact, a couple of the cemetery trustees have stopped and told them as such. So that's what they've been busy doing, and obviously mowing we're in the high season for mowing. Let's see, code enforcement, we have 10 building permits, 5 plumbing, 1 wharf and weir, 2 shoreland, 2 signs, and 1 subsurface wastewater. So I think that is at least double, if not more, from last meeting we had. So you can kind of get an idea of what's happening there, and that's a really good thing when you look at some of the developments that are happening in town. It says that business is happening, and we've got some carpenters, some plumbers, and some electricians out there that are able to earn some money.
Absolutely.
Business office, obviously, liens have been filed. We are starting our year-end closeouts, and I think everyone actually, if you go on the town site, you'll see that we're going to be closed for a day when we just have to come in here and finish out paperwork. And we were very, very busy today with the auditors, so quite a hectic day. And that is it.
Right. So we're gonna go on to old business. First on that is Eric Carlson, TIF opportunities with the industrial park. Dan?
Yep. So what I did is we talked about maybe drawing up an agreement based on Hodgson and also on Washburn and Doughty. And what I did, I put in your packets the agreement with Washburn and Doughty, because that was basically starting from scratch within a TIF district, whereas Hodgdon's was had more to do with an expansion. But this correlated a little bit better in terms of starting from the beginning. And I just wanted you to see how it was drawn up initially, what some of the questions that the DECD had to ask, what some of the criteria that were in place. So before we actually entered into a more formal agreement to put before the people, I just wanted you to get a good chance to look at that.
Okay. So we have homework, in other words.
Well, it's in that packet. No, this is just, and it's, again, it just lays out how that basically was put together. And keep in mind that even if the select board decides that this goes through, we still have to submit to the ECD, and it has to meet their criteria. But I think Eric's done a good job of making his case. I've been out to his plant just to kind of see what it looks like, and if you get a chance, you ought to take a trip out. It's not the easiest place to find at first, and he has done a successful job. He's gotten his pine tree accreditation. He's done a lot of work here to try to get his business established early on, and I think he's really stepping out on a limb, but I think what he had talked about earlier with the possible addition of 1 to 3 jobs, which again falls within the parameters of the pine tree, that's his goal. And these are relatively good jobs.
Good.
So I just wanted to continue the discussion, and I wanted you guys to have the chance to look at that and how it was drawn up.
So, if I,
Just to be clear, Dan, just to clarify, even if you're able to work out an agreement with Mr. Carlson and bring it to us, we are not the final authority.
Correct.
The state has to approve it, and then it has to go to town meeting for a final vote.
Correct. This is all about drawing up a potential agreement.
Right.
Yes, exactly right.
Are we hoping to have this on the November ballot then, in the November election?
I would ask Eric.
I would say if that's at all possible, the sooner the better, in my opinion, and if that, whatever that would take on my part, I'd be willing,
Yep.
if that's a possibility.
I think that would be the shortest time you could do and the cleanest time.
Does the state have to approve it before we send it to town meeting, or we?
I believe it has to go through DECD because it would be, I think we'd be premature in putting it to the vote before we'd gone through DECD.
Okay.
But that's something I can clarify, but I believe that's the course you take. is
I want to think
DECD
it was
first.
like a 30-day wait to find out if you got approved through DECD. I don't think, if I remember right, it wasn't that long.
It isn't, I think it's 30 to 45 days, if I recall correctly.
Well, that's closing the window then, because we're,
Yeah.
might as well say the beginning of July right now.
Yep.
And if we have to wait a month and a half, and we want to vote on it in November,
And
you're looking at September then.
Yep.
Right.
Eric and I did talk about timing, and it may not fit exactly, but I think essentially Eric was just hoping that whatever time we could fit it in, if possible, he would like to do that.
Well, his new valuation
Mhm.
won't be captured until, what, April 1st,
Correct.
correct? So even if we did it in May, it's not going to take effect until after April 1st anyway, so May would be fine.
No, because if his new value is captured in April, and then we do this in May,
It's
you're
April.
talking a month later.
No, you have a year to go back. I remember this conversation when we talked about the golf course, and our assessor, I'm sorry, I forget his name,
Mike
had
O'Donnell.
said we could go back up to a year.
As long as we can go back.
Yeah, I mean, I would find that
I'll-
out.
And
next
I'll
I'd hate to
clarify.
see
We
you
did-
penalized by us having to do it
We
in May.
talked about it today with Mike. Eric and I sat down with Mike, and he did have concerns about that timeline. And, I thought and I know the board is loath to do special meetings, but if there was somehow a time crunch,
Oh, yeah.
that it may be something to consider. And
After
obviously.
telling others no,
Yep,
it would be
I
hard
understand.
pressed to pass a straight face test, even
Yep.
though this would be a good thing.
Yep,
The only other question I would have is, when we did Washburns, I remember being on the board, that's the only reason, I can't speak to Hudson because that was before my time. But I remember we tied Washburns to jobs, and even in their application here, it mentions how many full-time jobs they were creating and stuff.
Not only creating, but retaining.
Right, so, I mean, it's 77 total according to this, for a 75% credit enhancement. Do we want to do 75% for potentially up to 4 jobs, I think is what you said, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something we have to consider as well. I
Oh,
mean, I don't want to downplay,
No, of course, 4 jobs are 4 jobs, and 75 are 75,
Right.
but
Couple of things to look at as well. I would say that the majority of those jobs that were created by Washburn are not on this peninsula. And Mr. Carlson has said that he wants people from the town of Boothbay working for him, correct?
Well, and that bring up 2 points, I guess. One, the jobs that I have to create have to be at or above the median income of the town. So essentially, these are $41,000 a year jobs.
yeah,
So
pretty,
they're good jobs with retirement and health insurance as part of that. 2, the TIF financing was part of my business plan to the Finance Authority of Maine and with the bank.
Okay.
So it's been part of the process since the beginning. It's not just kind of a last ditch effort. And, you know, my opinion of the 75% piece, sure, they're adding a lot more bang for the buck, but that being said, the 75% that they're receiving back is arguably a drop in the well of their operating budget, where 75% back for me will be
huge.
huge. It's really a big help. That, I mean, that 75% could be one employee's health insurance for the year.
Right.
So,
And I think,
you know, the proportions, certainly the proportions are very different, but again, arguably, I think that it would help my business a lot more than it helps theirs in reality.
and I think you expressed to me, Eric, today, well, that was one of the selling points for, you had looked at 5 different properties?
Yes, yeah.
And one of the selling points
And
for,
including my own, I own 14 acres in Edgecombe, but there's a reason, one of the reasons I went was for the TIF district and the industrial park itself.
and I'm not opposed to it per se anyways. I mean, I don't want to make it sound, I'm trying, I mean, we're going to get these questions moving forward, and I'd rather iron them out now than vote time, you know?
And they're valid points.
Oh, no.
Certainly.
But at the same token, so are yours, and I think every application is gonna be unique. Everyone's gonna be looked at completely individualized. You really shouldn't be comparing yours with Washburn and Dowdy's or Hudgens or whatever.
There are always similarities, but never
One
the
other
same.
important point, as far as the taxpayer is concerned, is when a TIF, when he signs onto a TIF agreement, he's still paying 100% of that assessed value prior to him buying it.
Right.
The only credit enhancement, if you will, that he gets back is the 75% of added value.
Right.
So we're not losing tax dollars.
Right, and
We're
that's
gaining 25% of the value.
Right. And you gotta make sure that the public is aware of that.
Right.
We are actually getting more taxes than we were getting before, but you're getting a good chunk of that, of the increased value is going back to you to help you establish.
Particularly here, where it started as part of a larger lot as a whole, so just in the fact that that acre was broken off of an 8-acre piece, increased the tax rolls.
Yes.
And,
Right.
So when this started from scratch, so that's a good point.
Well, needless to say, regardless, I guess my final my final thoughts on this is I think we need to get this agreement drawn up pretty much
ASAP.
Get
ASAP.
it moving as fast as we can.
at the direction of the board, I can start the process tomorrow.
I think you have that direction. But other than that, and good luck on your endeavors, I'd love to see a new business coming into town.
It's huge.
I bet it is. You're a brave man, and it's gotta be scary.
Yeah, no, it is, I mean, I put myself out there, but I feel the timing's right,
Yep.
and, you know, you've gotta just at some point.
Bite the bullet.
Bite the bullet, right.
Well, I commend you, and truly, I wish you the best, so,
Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully it'll be good for the town too.
absolutely.
You know.
Growth is always a good thing.
I hope you start making bricks. I need a local place I can buy them.
First, diversity means that, yeah.
All right, moving on to number 2, discussion, oh, God. We've avoided this a good long time.
Well, we've never had a
I,
full board.
I could skip this one. We can go right on to new business.
There you go, great.
Discussion regarding the annual placement of chair, vice chair of the Board of Selectmen. So, discussion,
I think it should stay the same. I think you should stay in the chairman to finish out this year. That will be a 2-year span, I think.
same as you did.
Speaking from the past, my first year was a heck of a learning curve, putting it bluntly, and I think I burned up my phone with Chucky a good many nights, been in his ear, and I think the first year is a learning curve, and the second year you shine, if you will. And I think you've done a good job, but it's gonna keep going, so I think that we should keep it the same. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
You're seconding your second, you're seconding the vice chair there, buddy.
That would be the only question I would have is, do you still want to be vice chair, and do you mind still being chair?
It doesn't matter. We had this discussion. There's a lot going on. I like seeing anything through. I've been in the heat of this chair for a year now. What's one more year? If this was last year and I knew it was coming, over the past year, I would have probably walked away from the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. I would have walked away from the selectmen. No, I ain't doing it. But at this point in time now, it's old hat at this point in time. We'll keep
And do you
going.
want it where your potentially term is up at the end of this year, Douglas? Do you still want to do vice chairman?
It's all right with me. Well, I'll second Stevie's motion then. I'll leave it the way it is.
Any further discussion? I didn't think so. All those in favor? So moved.
Now, did you all vote on that?
We did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't know where it was about those two, if they,
I don't know if I should or shouldn't, but I did.
They could vote on themselves.
okay, I just want to make sure.
They're not getting,
I'm not getting any more money one way or the other.
Right.
Some days I think I should, but that's neither here nor there. All right, on to new business. Congratulations, by the way, Douglas.
Yeah, same with you.
Thanks. More, what is this?
Memorandum.
Memorandum, good lord, of an agreement with the DOT for park and ride.
So, I entered discussions with the DOT, month and a half ago about, trying to get some state money for our park and ride, because I knew there was a program out there. I just happened through discussion, with one of the gentlemen about sidewalks. We came upon this, and he said, there's money out there for park and rides, and I said, well, I'm very interested in money that's out there. And so we started a discussion. We were able to meet, and he talked about this memorandum of agreement between the DOT and the town. You can see within the memorandum there are certain aspects of it that the DOT would come in and they would place some signage. They would, they request that it remains a park and ride, that it doesn't become just an area where folks can come willy-nilly. And there's potential there to get $30,000 worth of work done on the park and ride. And if you remember, we're nearing 60% depreciation with our capital assets. The majority of our capital assets are our roads and parking areas. So I have been searching far and wide to try to find dollars that would help alleviate the issue outside of our normal paving budget. This was potentially another mechanism. But again, this does bring in the DOT, but essentially we talked about it, and we are our own policing force on this. It's a 10-year agreement, where there's potential there that they are responsible for the paving. They'll bring in signage. Excuse me, if we wanted striping, we could work out an agreement with striping. But I just thought it was I thought there was potential there for something that I thought you should be aware of, and I wanted to at least have us have an opportunity to capture some more dollars if they're out there.
Question for the Mr. Chuck, because he's usually the legal eagle of us. What peaked in my brain when he said 10-year?
10-year agreement has to go to town meeting.
Unless it's a 1-year agreement that renews yearly, correct?
We are able to do 1-year agreements, but nothing more.
So, I mean, I think I think we'd be foolish not to just say, where can we sign? But, I mean, anything over a year, I mean, if they're willing
Let's say
to...
work it out and have it ready for November.
Okay. That's, I mean,
And have them change, I don't think
Scout
Scout
Egan.
Egan would appreciate it.
no,
if
no,
we
no,
signed on their
no. That
behalf.
was one of the example he gave me. It was a pretty easy one to break down. Yeah, and I will not put Scout Egan down. Although they probably would appreciate $30,000 more.
What I say is, kudos to you for going out and finding us $30,000.
Yep.
It was through a random
Hey,
discussion. I got
sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
lucky. I'll take it.
All right, so we're on the annual appointments. So, do we want to try to do these as all one motion, or do we want to do these on an individual basis? And have you talked to these people to find out if they
I
still?
personally did not, but I believe it was Tammy, Tracy, and Lori were the ones that reached out.
So everybody that's on here?
Oh, I did personally reach out to on the bottom list, part of the list, Dr. Paul Taylor, at Steve Lewis's suggestion.
Okay.
I reached out to him because apparently he had expressed interest in the position if the board was happy with him, because again, and I don't know that this was announced, but Nathaniel Leonard had to step away from his position on the ambulance board.
So, I would make a motion that we approve everybody on the list except Dr. Taylor, only because I would need to abstain from that.
So, all right,
Do that one separately.
so we have a motion and a second to.
Seconded it.
Chuck, and to appoint everybody on the list at the terms that they're appointed for, with the exception of Paul Taylor.
The only question is, I see the little notations next to Tracy and Tammy. These are new appointments effective January 1, so they'll have to get re-sworn in. Did I say January? July 1st.
Yes,
July 1.
July 1. Yeah, you had me thrown off there. Sorry, it's not hard to do.
I saw somebody mention snow on Facebook today and it threw me off.
So yeah, they would, but I don't see that that's a problem, correct?
Nope.
So, any further discussion? All those in favor? So moved.
Make a motion that we appoint Dr. Paul Taylor, the town of Boothbay's representative to the ambulance service.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? So moved.
I abstain, just for the record.
Steve Lewis abstained. Now, paving priority list.
So the board requested this list, if we had one, at the previous meeting. So I wanted to have something before you. And that is not a typo, there are 3 ones. So, those are the top 3. I think right now, barring some direction from the board, we were looking at Back Narrows, Butler Road. We would be able to get the worst part of Butler Road and one of our worst sections of Back Narrows together.
Okay.
Discussion?
With what's in the
of course.
budget now?
My only concern with Butler Road, I don't disagree that it needs to be done, the second half of it, but that hill, I think if you're just putting a coat of hot top over that hill, I think come spring, it's gonna be right back to where it is now, without doing something,
It's
and,
always been a problem.
yeah, and Mike, I mean, I had a small conversation, because I was complaining after coming across that one night with Mike, and he, nothing short of digging out a bunch of rocks, he didn't think that would fix, but wouldn't it make sense, if you've gotta dig out rocks, to do it before you pave,
Of course.
rather than, I mean, you know, you come that way quite often, and I know it would be more expensive, but again, like we did with the Beath Road, if you're gonna do it, you better to do it right the first time.
We need to stop patching problems and fix them.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we have, believe it or not, the town of Boothbay has most of the equipment they need to do it.
Absolutely.
They have the excavator. I mean, yeah, we might wanna see if we can rent Rennie's vibratory roller or something like that to do your grading and your final compaction, but
I would rather see back narrows, kind of, some of that pushed aside. If Butler Road's the worst, do that correctly, then just scab it, personally.
I'm always about
I
fixing it
mean,
right.
it's, an overlay isn't gonna do anything.
Right.
It's gonna be a temporary 2-year. It's gonna be all gone to hell in 2 years.
Yeah, if we got rocks over there, Stevie, it kinda reminds me of the rock that used to be over by Douglas's.
Yep. And I mean, look what, they redid, Back River a few years ago, and we haven't had any complaints over that
Right.
since then.
By that Tommy Nickerson and stuff like
I
that is
mean,
a thousand, I mean, don't
that's
get me wrong,
barely-
we still get it a little bit, but
That's
no
barely,
near
that's
as
right,
bad
but
as
I
it.
mean, that barely gets wavy.
Yep,
I would rather us do it right,
Right.
so yeah, I'm with you.
so, that's my only concern.
Okay. Yep. No, that was what it was there for, was for discussion. And you can see,
Do we technically have to approve Crooker for?
no, this is a bid. I was also asked, at the last meeting, and I just threw it in with the paving bids because it's on the list, regarding Industrial Park Road. And getting that situation corrected, et cetera. The direction I would like to take with that, if given the board's approval, is to pursue a TIF expenditure for Industrial Park Road, because then it won't come out of our annual paving bid.
Or if you could find an entrepreneur that would like.
Well, if we could do that, I'd
I mean, that's
absolutely love it.
not an awful lot of money for somebody. with
As
an
long
awful
as you
lot.
know that it wouldn't be done until spring,
Sure, yeah.
because, I mean, the
Yeah.
quickest
No,
we can get a
that's
TIF
exactly-
expenditure.
Now, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Dale, I need you to put your other hat on.
Okay,
How much extra does it cost to put infrastructure in the ground if you're gonna rebuild something?
I'm all with you, Chuck, I really am, but you're not gonna like my answer.
Okay. That's why I asked.
Yeah, to go, to run water main up Industrial Park Road without doing.
Water and sewer.
Without doing, yeah, water and sewer, without doing some ledge probes and whatever else, but just rough off the top of my head, you're probably, even if you do it the way, all right, I'm gonna toot Boothbay Region Water District's own horn here for a minute. We kinda have a new model that we've been doing for about the past 8 years, where we hire a contractor. Currently, right now, we have Hagar from Dan Muscata doing all the digging, but the Boothbay Region Water District does their own install, so we do all our own pipe work ourselves. We get way more pipe in the ground for a lot less dollars. And it's a model that's really working well, and it's paying off, kudos for us. But even with that model, excavation is where the money's at. That's the huge expense. Blasting is where the money's at. Paving is where the money's at, and there is big dollars in all of that stuff. I mean, I don't know if I dare throw an actual figure, but you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not talking, even under 100,000. You're
'Cause
probably.
I was thinking that even if we're gonna rebuild that to make that right, we'd
Yeah.
have to do some blasting anyway.
And probably in places you will. Now, if you want my personal opinion, at that point in time, if you're gonna blast, and you wanna make it right, have them blast 7 feet. Because water or sewer is gonna be down that deep before you're gonna, so if they're gonna have to touch it off and scrape the top off, have them dig down 7 feet, drill down 7 feet and shoot it, and then just take off what they need. It'll prepare you for the next phase of the project.
Okay.
But,
But it's too bad we can't do all 3 phases at once, rebuild the road and do the water and sewer.
and the other thing is too, sewer's generally more expensive to put in the ground than water is.
Yeah.
Water will go where I tell it to go. Sewer, you have to make sure you install it correctly to have it go where it needs
Or
to
it
go.
won't flow.
Yeah, or it doesn't flow, and then you have big problems.
We all know it doesn't run uphill.
Now, there's other ways to do it. You can do pump stations and whatever else, but even then you
Yeah.
have power and drop,
Oh, yeah,
tanks
right,
and
right.
sewer's very expensive. Water's cheaper. So,
Okay.
I'm with you, and I'd love to be able to say, let's do it, but I'd love to, if we're not doing this until spring and you wanna run some numbers and do a ledge probe up through, that might only cost a few $1,000s to do a ledge probe, so we have some idea of how much it's gonna cost down the road.
Right.
and then we can fill in all those little holes that they're gonna drill up through the road, yeah, that would be maybe
Because
worthwhile.
I hear people talking now about, why don't we get the water and the sewer up to the industrial park? And I think in anything that we can prep ahead for that day,
Yep.
we're much better off.
You know, to use Crossroads as an example, over on Southport, for 2 years, Crossroad had 7-foot deep, 12-inch water main that was fed by 2 seasonal lines on either end of it. So we had a year-round main, hypothetically, in the middle of a seasonal island. So every year, we had to bag all the hydrants and basically say out of service, until just last year, it finally went in year-round, all the time. Crossroad Industrial Park Road might be the same way. You could install water and sewer on the road, but eventually we'd have to bring something up 27 to get to it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea, I'm just saying, people might say, you're gonna put a whole bunch of infrastructure in the ground and nobody's gonna be able to use it.
Not hooked up, yeah,
Right. So.
even
Anyway,
though it's the right thing to do.
it is, I won't argue with you. But, yeah, $77,000 to do the paving and the rebuild and whatever, that's great. You could probably add about probably a 4, something like that, or a 5.
Yeah, okay,
I'm guessing.
yeah.
Okay. So, what are we doing with the paving discussion? We got a little sidetracked, I apologize.
What I took away from it, unless you correct me, is that you're okay with the idea of back narrows Butler. However, Butler, we want to concentrate on making sure that that is done correctly.
Yep,
At the expense of whatever we have to try to eke out off of back narrows.
yep.
Is
You
that,
could leave a little section from.
Or
my
back
house
river.
out.
yeah,
And
Inverness.
as
Or back
far,
river. I mean,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
you
yeah,
use.
but I mean, they're all, the 111 is really, it's being honest, they all need attention. We all know that, our budget is our budget, and we're trying to make sure that we serve the town as best we can. And we're trying to take care of these problems, that's one of the reasons I'm trying to search out, like, the TIF, if we can use that to correct an issue we've had. If we can use, if the memorandum works out on the park and ride, there's, $100,000 that we're able to take care of and get ahead of the problem.
Yep, absolutely.
So we can address the next one next year and maybe half of the other one.
Right.
And try to get back on track. So we're actively trying to get there, but hopefully that's what I hear from the board.
so, and as far as the industrial park goes, as long as you're okay with not being able to do it until spring.
Yep. I fully expected nothing other than spring. But, I mean, you can see where it falls on our list. The list isn't just the worst road.
I'm sure.
You have to figure how many folks are served by the road. I'll give you my personal opinion. Paradise Point is
Horrible.
horrible. And it's just simply because of how many folks we serve. We will have to address it, we have to, and we know that. But we had to go through the process. I sat down with Mike and talked about it, and he really had thought through this list. So he didn't just throw it together based on the people that are barking at him. He thought about it, and he thought why, and, he factored in how many people are serviced by it, how much traffic is on it. So, we're working on it, but I hear the board loud and clear on what you want with that.
Okay.
I think that would go with any road. Rather than just resurfacing. If there's a troubled area that's been troubled for years, correct it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Stop throwing good money at bad.
absolutely.
Right.
And as much as it looks pretty around here right now, but don't do what the state just did, and paint everything black, but they painted over like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Graham stamps, that's gonna,
I'm sorry, but the paving they've done is atrocious,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I think that it's
not the
terrible.
best. It's not the best.
Yeah.
I find a lot of faults in it. And I mean, over there in front of Martin's, that's the biggest fault, that they went over that.
yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's
Country
washing
Club
out
Road is
underneath the
paper
hot
thin.
top. It's caving in, they
It's
put a
5/8
couple of patch
mix.
holes and they went right over it.
5/8.
There's some places I don't think it's 5/8.
I guarantee it.
Not after the roller. But I mean,
But that's what they're paid to do, I mean,
Matt
it's,
went out and took pictures before and after pictures, so
Yeah.
he's all ready.
oh yeah, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure. It's already, you can already feel it when you get across it, you still feel,
You can still feel the whoop-de.
nothing changed.
No,
All right, anyway, so we're on to discussion for, repurchase, tax acquired property.
I have a question, and hopefully this simplifies this real quick. The town has taken this property because of non-payment of back taxes.
Yep.
We have not put it out to bid.
Correct.
According to the administrative code, Dan, take care of it.
Okay, so Chuck has answered the question that we were all kind of hemming and hawing about earlier.
Yeah, yeah. So this is, obviously, this is my
First.
first dealing with this, so my first reaction is to bring it before the board to get direction.
Hey, better safe than sorry, my friend.
Correct, correct. So those are those are the kind of things that you can expect if I'm unsure it's coming before you.
I'd rather have it that way, so no,
Oh, yeah.
but that answers the question. So
Right.
if they pay their taxes,
If they
Then-
pay the entire.
There would be a quick claim deed that would come back
Correct.
to us for signature.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Jim in the past has always just done a repurchase agreement with them, however that, whether they pay it in full or by payments, work something out with them, and
Which
once
is-
it's done, we get the quick claim,
Right.
I mean, I have a template already.
unless they don't live up to their repurchase
Correct.
agreement.
Yep.
And it appears that this person has cash in hand.
Right. So
Yes.
I would say get it done.
Yep. Yep. That makes it
Okay.
easy.
anything anything else for new business before I move on? No. Okay. Second public comment.
Why was number four a repurchase of tax acquired property? Who's repurchasing, the former owner or the town?
The owner,
Yeah, the owner. So we acquired it because they hadn't paid their taxes.
When did you acquire it? Last year?
December.
Last year. Okay.
after 3 years, we acquired them.
Who's the property owner?
It is tax map.
It's
R7,
map R7-35C.
170 Butler Road.
Yeah, 170.
We've never named the property owner.
You have the name of the owner, former owner?
We never
Well,
have,
we never do during these.
publicly, right?
I'm not sure if we can.
You can,
You can, I
Access
think
the
you can
information.
ask the office, but
Yeah.
we just don't usually do it.
Out of courtesy, we just never have.
Okay.
Now, usually if somebody gets into a situation where we end up taking their property for non-payment, they're in rough shape. They don't need it anymore.
Have you made a deal with them to,
They've
Yeah.
offered to come in and pay the
Yeah,
back taxes.
we've all
and
received
asked
it.
us to give it back.
We've all received a letter.
taxes?
1377,
yep.
1,377,
That's for 3 years or 1 year?
3 years.
Cumulative.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Is that it? All right. I'll entertain a motion to review the warrants and sign them.
So moved.
I should probably get them for you.
Okay, you can go get those. Any discussion? All those in favor? So moved?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
That's the quickest
So moved.
motion of the night.
Chuck's pretty fast with the motion to adjourn.